Well, maybe you should have been a man.
Well, maybe you should have done a better job raising your daughter.
Somebody tell me, why? Why? Why does Ed always feel the need to be spiteful? I mean, listen, fair enough. Liz's mom has come in. She's obviously spoken her mouth. But does he have to speak up? I mean, let's not forget, Ed, you're the one that's chosen to leave Liz. So, of course, emotions are going to be high on her side. You know what I mean? You're just going to have to be a man and stomach whatever they may say to him, and that's that. It comes with the role of being a man sometimes.
Oh, I did a fantastic job raising my daughter. That's why you're out.
Get out of our face, Ed. Please let us pass.
That's why you abandoned her.
Get out. Get out. That's why you abandoned your kid, too?
You're gonna love the quick fire from Liz. I mean, listen, it's good to see her obviously being, it's good to see her holding her own back, having that backbone, you know what I mean? Not letting this man run riot towards her and also run riot towards her mother too. But there's something else that I want you to recognize about Liz. I'm gonna point out in a second.
To me, I'm gonna throw back.
Get out, Ed.
You're why she's the way she is.
Hey, this is why he's just gonna sit there.
This is why she's the way she is.
He's just gonna keep doing it.
Notice how Liz is able to instruct her mum and say, listen, this is the way he is, okay? This is how he's going to be. So, like, just leave it. And it's interesting because, obviously, we know Liz has been with Ed for a very long time. She's dealt with this man for a very long time. But also, at the same time, given the fact that she knows how spiteful he can be, how mean he can be, just out of the fact that he's got some annoying temper or whatnot, she already knows this. So why did she still choose to be with this man despite the fact that she knows that his red flags are serious deal breakers? No woman, no human should ever have to put up with anything that Ed does and what he says. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, who the hell is he to comment on Liz's relationship with her mum? I mean, they got a relationship now, and that's the main thing. Her mum's there to support her daughter in this tough time, isn't she? That's the main thing. You see what I'm saying? But either way, though, I gotta love Liz's quick fire. And to be fair, that wasn't even the end of it. Let's get into it.
Just let him have his moment. Doing it. Just let him have his moment. That's why his daughter doesn't talk to him.
Love it. And that's why his dad doesn't talk to him. She kept it nice and clean and classy, you know what I mean? I mean, listen, at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, Ed, you're the one that broke up the wedding. In fact, you're the one that canceled the wedding without even telling Liz. And Liz had to find out from somebody else rather than find out from even yourself in particular. You see what I'm saying? You've caused so much damage as it is anyway. Do you have to cause any more damage? Do you have to have your say? Is it really that necessary given the fact that you've already caused enough damage anyway? But hey, Ed will always see things the way he sees the way he wants to see things, and the way he wants to see things is that he always has to be on top in some format because, well, he's a baby. That's the most polite thing I could say based on what I really want to say. But nonetheless, though, let's get into the next couple.
For example, look like with the beauty pageant, which I really appreciate. Uncle Marco convincing you. It takes your family, always third parties.
No, it doesn't take them.
I'm here.
He reminded me.
You see, this is the problem with Gino, isn't it? Gino literally needs his hand held for him in his whole entire life. You know, like at the end of the day, if you want to be a man in a relationship, right, and you want to be able to step up to be the protector, to be the provider, be the da-da-da-da-da, you got to be able to make choices that are clinical. You got to make choices that make sense. And you got to be able to make choices without any assistance from any other people. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be times where maybe, yeah, there are choices that you may have to make that, yeah, you may need help from other people. Don't get me wrong. Those times can come. But when it comes to choices around paying for a freaking beauty pageant, the fact that he had to go to his family member and his family had to convince him is wild. But here's the thing though, Jasmine can't act as if this is new. Gino's been like this since the very beginning. Each and every time he gets a bit conflicted, or each time they have a disagreement about something that he's not doing on his behalf, whatever, Gino always has to go to a third party. She knows this. So really and truly, this conversation isn't a conversation that should be had now. This is a conversation that should have been addressed firmly way before. You see what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, though, the problem is that Gino is never going to see it that way because, well, he's a freaking baby. I wouldn't even call him a man-child, to be honest with you. That's just being too polite. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue.
There you go. All men, real men are providers, and they never throw into my face and list the things they do.
Let me tell you.
Before we even get into Gino's interesting response, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I will tell you this now. If you are a man and you are with a woman and she's not telling you what a man is supposed to be, I'm telling you at this moment in time, you're best off leaving that relationship. I mean, listen, you can stick around, but if you stick around, be ready to step up your levels. And when I say step up your levels, you got to step them up so freaking high that she needs to forget the fact that you was even whatever she thought you was beforehand, you see what I'm saying? Which is generally always a hard thing to do, because once someone sees you as what they see you, well, just know, even if you overcome it, they're going to see you as that person at any time that you're weak, you see what I'm saying? Most of the time. But, and really and truly in this situation here, if a woman says that to me, that's my sign to bail. But to be fair with you, but if I know, which of course I am a man, but if I know I've been a man the whole time and a woman tried to belittle me and try to tell me that this is what a real man is supposed to be, listen, right then and there, I'm going to start telling you all the things that I've done and make you look freaking stupid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's just me still, you know what I'm saying? And that's not immature. It's just sometimes you got to let women know, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you can be a man like 90% of the time, and then 10% you can do something that's not manly, and then they'll start looking at you like, nah, listen. At that point, I'm going to be like, hold on a minute, you stop right there. So tell me about this, and that, and tell me where I've not been a man in these situations. And now you're telling me this one thing, he tells me that I'm not. You're moving mad. You see what I'm saying? You got to stand your ground, have that freaking backbone, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, though, when it comes to Gino, he's definitely somebody that doesn't have the traits of being a man, or at least showing those masculine levels. So really and truly, for him personally, I mean, to be honest, Gino shouldn't be in a relationship with such a demanding woman, to be honest, because he's not ready for that, because he's not man enough for that, you know what I mean? He hasn't got the cojones for that. But for some reason, he likes to be in these relationships. Maybe he likes to be in relationships where toxic levels are always happening. Who knows? Maybe this is what makes him hard. Who knows? But either way, though, the matter of fact is, though, men, the second a woman challenges you and says, hey, this is what a real man is supposed to be, depending on the situation, you can either one, bounce. You know what? You got two options. It's either one, you bounce, because once that's said, it's done. Or if you know you've been a man, list the accolades, and then maybe you can stay in the relationship, or you can still bounce. But never, ever, ever, ever stay in it knowing that you haven't been a man, and now you have to prove yourself to a man. Don't do it, because that's never going to change. Every time you have a disagreement, you not being a man is going to come up every single time. And that's where a man's mental health will come into place, if you dig what I'm saying. But nonetheless, though.
Let me tell you what a real woman is. A real woman, an attractive woman, is one that's calm and gentle and not argumentative, angry, and...
And what you don't want to do is what Gino just did there, because what he's doing there is proving that he's not a man, because a real man wouldn't have even responded like that. Do you see what I'm saying? His response isn't based on him having a backbone. His response is based on him being hurt, based on him being petty. You know what I mean? Based on him knowing that he actually hasn't been a man. But anyway, Jasmine's response, I gotta say, was golden.
So what are you doing with me then?
That's a good question.
So why do you want to be with me then? Yeah, that's a good question. So answer the question, Gino. He couldn't answer the question because he knows he hasn't been a man. You know what I mean? Hey, Jasmine came ready with that one. I mean, this season, for the most part, this couple has been, but to be fair, I think in the last 2-3 episodes, to be fair, I've kind of been warming up with Jasmine a little bit, you know, because her responses and whatnot, they've been on point, you know what I mean? But Gino, this guy, he's a clown, but what can we say? But nonetheless, though, at the end of the day, in my opinion, if you're ever in a situation where either one of you, if a man is with you and a man says to you, hey, when are you going to be a real woman? When are you going to da-da-da-da-da-da-da? Listen, I'm telling you, that's one moment in time. You got two choices there, ladies. See, one, I guess you can either try and prove the point, or two, you can be like, wait, hold on a minute. Actually, no, I do all these things, honey. Like, I make sure your food's ready for work, or whatever it could be, or I make sure that the kids are ready for this and that, or, you know, I make sure that I'm always doing my best to look good for you. Whatever it is that you do that you feel like, you know, brings that feminine energy, then obviously you can list that, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, to be honest with you, generally speaking, I would say that 9 times out of 10, if you're both in a situation where you are questioning you being the man, or him being or her being a woman, to be honest with you, at that point, the relationship should be done. I'm gonna tell you the key reason why. Because at that moment in time, that's the moment that you say that I don't respect you. If somebody says to me, this is what a real man is, you're telling me you don't respect me. If I say the same thing back to you, clearly I ain't respecting you anymore. In fact, my love for you is actually fading away. You see what I'm saying? That's just the grand scheme of it. But hey, think about it. All right. But with that being said, though, let's get into the next couple.
If I used anyone for a green card, I would choose someone that has money and a bathroom. So I would go to America and have this great life.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said before, I said this last week, I said it again. If you, it depending on how desperate the person wants to get to America, they would care less about the living arrangements. But you know, Sophie's always had this classy kind of appeal to herself, isn't it? So it makes sense. But nonetheless, though, let's get into the nitty and gritty of what went down with these two. Well, three.
Work things out with my wife here, and you just want her to walk away.
You're a horrible, nasty person to my daughter. No, you've been trying ever since you got frigging married. Nothing's frigging changed.
I mean, listen, that's the question though. Has anything changed since Rob and Sophie have been married? Has anything changed since last season? Because as far as I'm concerned, to be honest with you, nothing has changed. Everything has been nothing but the same. And even based on the things that we've seen on social media, things have only gotten worse between the two. Do you see what I'm saying? So really and truly, Claire does make a very good point. What has changed between you two? Because right now, there's no evidence to say that anything has changed between your relationship. The evidence shows that you two are still pretty much in the same position that you were in last season as well.
Trying to be on my best behavior. But it feels like Sophie's bringing other people into this that are dead set on pulling us apart.
But this isn't you though. Sophie's always done. She's always bringing other people into a relationship, you know? At the end of the day, no marriage, no relationship with or without marriage is stable if one of you has to continuously keep bringing other people into the relationship. For example, look at Gino, always going to seek advice elsewhere rather than being able to deal with the relationship on his own accord. This is why, for me personally, when I'm in a relationship, I always say to the person I'm with, listen, if you have an issue, you and I talk about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be hearing nothing about so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. No. Our problems are our problems. But of course, there is an exception. There are certain things I understand. There is an exception, but that exception is based on your relationship. So it's not an exception that you can create just out of thin air. It is based on how your relationship is going, of course, if you dig what I'm saying. But nonetheless, though, I always say this, though, if you're going to go to anyone for advice, go to people who, don't go to people that are single still. Just do that one. I can tell you that one for sure. Go to people who are actually in a relationship, okay? But hey, let's continue.
I think letting my mum come here tonight might have been a mistake. I really need to get somewhere with Rob and figure out what we're doing with our relationship, but I can't do that with her, you know, chiming in and trying to attack my husband.
It's funny, isn't it, that it's taken her how long? What is it, 13 episodes, maybe 14 episodes? And whoa, a whole season and a half for her to realize that bringing in a third party, whether it be her mum or her friends or whatnot, into her relationship isn't going to help. It's taken her that long to realize that. And also walking out of your relationship and going to your friends for 3 months also isn't going to help neither. Wow, the maturity levels, eh?
If her dad was around, she would have a dad that would be having a conversation with you.
But he's not.
No. Any father would not put up with a man like you treating their daughter like that.
Good men you've been around, so I don't think you have the best.
That's why I've got experience.
None. So how the hell do you know what a decent guy is?
That was crazy though, man. Rob went in for the low blow. What do you know about a good man? Huh? You ain't been around any. That's crazy. To be honest with you, that's not something that you say. Do you know what? Obviously, in this situation, you can say that you can't say that because it's flat out rude. But to be honest with you, someone saying that, to be honest with you, is one of the most extreme defensive things you could ever say. The fact that Rob feels like that's the defense he had doesn't put him in a good place. Forget the disrespect part. It's the fact is, if you're saying that, then that's you basically saying that I am the standard. Because you don't know what a good man is, I am the standard here. So whatever I do, you got to accept it because I'm showing you what a good man is. So that means basically what he's saying is that no matter what he does, he can never do any wrong because you don't know what a good man is because you don't have no experience. That is some ugly, savage behavior right there. The fact that he said that is crazy. Like that is manipulation on a different. Would I use manipulation? Yeah, no, that is manipulation on a whole next level. And I'm gonna tell you why too. I remember last year I was in where was I now? I was in I think it was Nice, and I was at the airport. All right, I'm about to get the plane back to the UK, right? And I see these two girls in front of me, and they're having a conversation about we're having a conversation about the dating life. And one of the girls is saying that she's with a guy right now. He's not her boyfriend. He's more like a friend, but they sleep together, right? But they're not really friends with benefits. They're more like, this is where it gets a bit sticky. And then she's like, sometimes I'll text him and he won't text me back for so and so long, da. And then sometimes if I ask him certain questions, blah, 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 he will say to me, well, do I treat you the same way that someone else treated you before me? She's like, no. So he was like, so basically, you know, like you need to appreciate that I'm not treating you the same way that person did. But the way she told the story was definitely in a way where I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, raw, do you not realize this guy's manipulating you? Do you not realize that he's basically saying that because you was treated like crap beforehand, because he's treating you less like crap, but still treating you like crap, the way he's treating you is acceptable. So he's conditioning you to believe that this is the best that you're ever gonna get, at least from him anyway. Nah, listen, don't be doing that. That line is a dangerous line. Dangerous line. Yeah, man, I won't lie to you. That's not even a red flag. That's a deal breaker. Telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you ever hear this line for any one of your partners? I'm telling you now, walk, run. It's mad after that.
Claire is trying so hard to convince Sophie that I am the manipulative one, but she's crying in Sophie's face, desperate to get Sophie to listen to her.
I mean, you know what?
And it hurts. I mean, how manipulative is that?
I mean, listen, I think this is the problem, isn't it? And the problem is that we're dealing with two different people here that are both saying things that, well, I mean, the question is who's the more manipulative one, right? Because it feels like both of them are trying to be manipulative. But this is the thing, though. When one person is manipulative, but then the other person is trying to prove that the other person is manipulative, then that person who's trying to prove that person is manipulative is then going to look as if they're manipulative as well. When in reality, they're just trying to prove that the other person is manipulative. So the question is, though, this. Who is the one that's manipulative and who's the one who's trying to prove the one is manipulative? Because you can't get confused between the two, because a lot of the times people will then think that the one who's trying to prove the other person is manipulative, that person and then sometimes ends up being the one that gets put in the corner where they're being told that they're actually being manipulative, when in reality they just want to prove the other person. It's a madness. And let's be real. And when somebody is manipulative, when you try and prove someone is manipulative, they will try and use what you're trying to use as proof to manipulate the situations. Therefore, then you look like you're the manipulative one. It's a madness. See, that's how to use the word manipulative. You got to watch out for those kind of things. If you don't watch out for them, it's peak for you. But nonetheless, though, well, let me clarify UK slang. When I say it's peak for you, what I mean is that it's oh no, that's a sticky one. That's not a UK slang, isn't it? How can I translate this one? When you get in these situations, just be aware of danger. Okay, be aware of danger because it's going to be at its pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? So it's peakness. Yeah. But with that being said, though, let's move on to the next couple.
I know the reality of death, especially after my mom passed away. Like, I don't have a lot of chances to spend with my dad. Anytime I see my dad, I want to take full advantage of it and help him any way I can.
Listen, I completely understand that Patrick wants to be here for his dad no matter what. But at the end of the day, buddy, there's a fine line with being there for somebody who deserves it and being there for somebody who's taking advantage of you. No matter the fact is, right now, your dad seems to be taking advantage of you and your pocket. And that's not somebody that you need to be here for, despite the fact that you may have lost your mother and you did not. No, despite the fact that you did lose your mother and you lost that on experiences moving forward. I get that, I understand that. But at the same time, though, there'll be something called integrity, something called dignity, something called respect. Look at it this way, right? He made a whole hoo-ha about how he didn't want to ask Thais' father for permission because he'd rather earn his respect first rather than do anything like that. Well, then bring that same energy to your father. You know, the same respect that you're trying to gain from Thais' father is the same respect that you should be asking from your father. It's just that simple. You can't be, otherwise you've been a hypocrite. And don't give me none of this stuff about, yeah, but he's my father, though. Who gives a damn if he's your father? The matter of the fact is, though, he hasn't done his job of even being your dad, so he can be a father all he freaking wants, if you dig what I'm saying. There's a fine line between father and dad, but hey, it is what it is. If that's how he wants to live his life, that's how he wants to live his life. But in reality, he's just been a hypocrite and he's doing himself no favors. But who am I? I'm not him. Just saying, though. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're so big on respect from Carlos. You should be big on respect from your father too. But nonetheless, though, let's see what goes on here next, though, because Carlos now, obviously, Thais' father, he has something to say towards, what's his name again? To Patrick's father. And this is interesting. And as you can see, he goes, so we went to Jose's place to see if, oh no, sorry, ignore that first bit. That first bit there was, ignore that first bit, sorry, bad. So this is Carlos himself in particular saying to Jose, I wondered how Jose would have, did I just skip what I said? Would have the nerve to charge his own son. And what they're talking about, the fact that Jose wants to charge his own son, Patrick, for what? To have a birthday party for his own freaking granddaughter, if you dig what I'm saying, okay? So let's get into the nitty and gritty right here.
Bicho, mil pra fazer aniversário da neta.
Bicho. Você não é negócio não, bicho. Espera aí, cara.
I've noticed that Jose loves to say this is none of your business. He said the same thing to John. He's now saying the same thing to freaking Carlos. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, the fact that he's trying to say it's no one's business tells you that he only cares about you and your fucking wallet and nothing else but that. But listen, at the end of the day, if Patrick feels comfortable enough wanting to pay his father to use the home, because bear in mind, if Patrick's got a property, right, in Brazil, a property that his father uses when he's not there, whenever he feels like it. But you're telling me that when he comes to Brazil to now try and throw a party at his dad's house, he now needs to pay his dad to use that freaking apartment, even though his dad's using his apartment for free of charge. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. And also on top of that, Patrick, here's another thing. If your mum was still here, would your mum be happy with the fact that you have to pay your father to throw your daughter, his granddaughter, a freaking party because he needs this, and that? That's not acceptable. Also, you got to think about why him and your mum didn't work out in the first place as well. At the end of the day, there were so many principles here that have to be looked at, and Patrick can't walk on his life acting oblivious to it just because, you know, he wants to have a big heart, or just because he wants to amend time, or just because he wants to be the better person, or whatever the hell he tells himself as an excuse to allow his father to take advantage of him is absolutely ridiculous. It's unacceptable. It is not needed. I mean, listen, I do wonder though, when your daughter is a little bit older and you go to Brazil and you need a babysitter, is your father going to charge you to babysit his own granddaughter then too? It's ridiculous. Like I said before, you're so concerned about gaining respect from Carlos. You should be more concerned about your father respecting you. Tell me otherwise. But nonetheless though, let's move on to the next couple.
We never officially said, okay, it's over. When you got pregnant, I was like, okay, I got to focus on this.
So basically what he's telling you right now is that when you got pregnant, that's when he decided to basically leave his ex. You know what I'm saying? So if you never got pregnant, he would have never left his ex. Let's just let that sink in.
Not in communication for a while.
So were you still in love with her when you met me? I want
So,
to make sure.
you were doing everything. I asked you how many men did you, how many this, how many that.
You know what? The question isn't even was you still in love with her when you met me? The question is, so you basically left her because I got pregnant. That's the question that Emily should have been asking.
Yeah, we're moving forward. I was having the best time ever.
Exactly. So why wouldn't you end it with her when you were already seeing other people?
Well, because at that point, I didn't know of when I was going to come back to Cameroon.
You know when the man fully admits that he had a girlfriend the whole time he was sleeping with you, and also he had a girlfriend the whole time he was doing whatever else he was doing in China, how the hell does that go over your head? That's a conversation right there, because then in that situation, you can be like, does that mean that you may sleep around against me? In fact, how do I know you haven't done anything behind my back so far? But obviously, listen, the chance of him doing anything behind Emily's back thus far is probably next to none. But what I'm saying is, it raises the questions. What about in the future? Is it ever going to happen? You know, at the end of the day, how do I now know that you can trust me? It is quite interesting how the conversation itself in particular isn't focused on what is actually being said, and is focused on more what the narrative is, or more what the narrative is should be.
When you got pregnant, I know this was like, you know, something huge for us to work on. And that was when I told her that, okay, I texted her.
Like I said before, the real question here, Emily, you should be asking is, so did you leave her only because I got pregnant? Or did you leave her because you wanted to be with me? But here's the thing though, for me personally, given the fact that Emily isn't asking the correct questions, it tells me that, as I say every week with this couple, it's all BS. Because to be honest with you, why would she even, like, think about it. Ladies, let me know if I'm wrong. Because from my experiences, this is how women be. Why would she care? And from a woman's perspective, why would Emily give a damn about Kobe leaving another woman for her? Because as far as I'm concerned, in this world that we live in, right, a lot of the times, if a man leaves a woman for another woman, that woman that he leaves her for usually is happy as hell. Why? Because she's like, yeah, but I want him over. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Clearly, I was a better choice. Clearly, I've got that. This is why that's why people have affairs. You know what I mean? Listen, there's a lot of women in this world that get over the idea. There's women in this world that actually prey on stealing men from their partners because it makes them feel good about themselves. Self-esteem, you see what I'm saying? And then there's women in this world that, you know, don't plan for it to happen, but then end up falling for somebody who's got a woman. Who's got a woman, and then literally they just will try and do what they can to. So the point being is, generally speaking, I've never experienced a time when a woman is upset with the fact that a man left an ex for them, to be honest with you. That's the grand scheme of it, you know what I mean? Especially if we're dealing with an insecure woman, you know what I mean? Actually, nah. Let me not categorize the specific women. It could be any type of woman, to be fair. So let me not categorize. It could be any type of woman. But either way, though, as far as I'm concerned, though, I just find it interesting how we're not emphasizing on the main point that he's making it. And the main point that he made twice here is that if you didn't get pregnant, you and I wouldn't be here right now. That is the main freaking point. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the fact that he was in love with, he may have been in love with another woman, which clearly he wasn't, but he was out there doing the madness. They're not even focusing on the fact that, you know, he clearly admits that he was having the best time of his life whilst he had a whole woman back home. I mean, to be honest with you, at this moment in time, if I was Emily, I'd be like, okay, so in that case, you will never come to Cameroon without me then. You will never go to another state, to another country without me then. I wouldn't want you to be having your best life again, would I now? Ooh, probably not a laughing matter, but I just find it interesting because it's not been highlighted. So that's why I say that this is probably just fabricated. But we move on. But despite being potentially fabricated, it doesn't change the fact that these things can be a reality. So yeah, if you're gonna ask some questions, make sure you're asking and listening to the things that are necessary, not things that are not that deep. Yeah.
Le voy a decir sí con los gastos que tenemos, porque tú prefieres andar gastando en tu que tal vez lo que yo necesito, tal vez que mi familia necesite.
Estás diciendo que tu hermano necesita dinero.
Let's just stop it there. So Manuel finds out. Manuel. He finds out that Ashley is 100k debt from student loans. So therefore he makes a whole, you know, scene about it. Fair enough. But now he's out here doing what? You know when people are built to just think of themselves and no one else but themselves? Yeah. This is exactly the definition of their relationship. Transparency is a myth.
Mi familia necesita dinero.
¿Cuántos dinero ellos necesitan?
Unos $300.
All right, let's just humble that real quick. Let's not forget something. When it comes to the money aspect of things, she was giving him $200 a month to send home. Now he wants $300 all of a sudden. He finds out that money isn't that great, or at least she's got a debt that I guess, you know, from what I understand, will always increase because that's just how the system is built in the States based on the comments that everybody said. But hey, either way though, the fact that he's got this knowledge, or the knowledge of her being 100k in debt, and now he's asking for more money for the family, that is wild. But we'll see.
¿Por qué ellos necesitan $600?
No importa.
How do you ask someone for money and then say it's not important why you want the money? What do you mean it's not important? This is the money that she earns, right? It's the money that she works for, right? So therefore, if you're going to ask for money, if you're going to ask for extra money, she needs a reason. Fair enough, they agreed, you know, that she was going to pay $200, you know, obviously per month to the family. Fair enough. But if he's going to start asking for more, there has to be a reason. And respectfully, if he can't give actually a reason, well, then that means he's just being disrespectful. The lack of respect in this relationship is so real.
No debería justificar esto a Ashley.
The way my sister says, I don't need to justify myself to Ashley. Now let's just pay attention. He said, I don't need to justify myself to Ashley. Why is he not saying that I don't need to justify myself to my wife? Maybe he doesn't see Ashley as his wife. Maybe he just sees Ashley as his bank account. Because really and truly, most of the time, from what I understand, when people are married, they refer to each other, well, men generally refer to their wife as wife. I mean, well, let's put it this way. If a man is talking, I know, both men and women, if we're talking about our partners, we will refer them as, yeah, so my husband did this, yeah, my wife did this. If we're talking to each other, we may address each other with the word maybe baby, or whatever nicknames that we have for each other. But it is very rare that we address each other with our actual names, and usually when we do that, it's when we're mad. And don't get me wrong, we can sit here and say that he's dressing as Ashley because he's mad, but if you ask me personally, I don't think he's ever addressed as anything else but Ashley, which tells me that maybe there's lack of respect when it comes to their relationship. And to be fair, at the same time, Ashley does the same goddamn thing. Whenever she references him, she's always referencing him by his name as well. I mean, maybe I'm delving too much into that. Maybe I'm looking too much into that, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, usually when we speak about our partners, it's rare that we use each other's names. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. I remember the last time I had an encounter myself in particular. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, babe. Couldn't hear me. So then I said her name. She was like, why are you saying my government name for? Like, what's wrong with you? It's funny stuff, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. I feel like it's a level of respect that you have between each other, if you dig what I'm saying.
Entonces estoy un poquito confundido. Yo poner $1,000 en tu cuenta y ahorita tú necesitas 300 más.
That is wild. That is wild. She's already given him the 1K and now he wants an extra 300 and he doesn't want to explain why.
Sí.
He's a funny dude. See?
Eso.
Mi problema son mi problema y tus problemas son tus problemas, nada más.
Yo soy tu familia. No soy tu banco. Entender eso.
Well, I'll tell you this now, Ash. You need to understand that to him, you are his bank account, clearly. Because that's the kind of respect that he gives you. I mean, look at it this way. If we have a meeting, a prenup meeting, post-nut meeting, whatever, then we discover that so-and-so's got this money and that money, blah, 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 blah. If you love that person, you want the relationship to go forward with, then you start to talk about things and how you can help each other going forward. How you can obviously, plan things going forward. You don't start to sit there entitled and be like, well, now you owe me an extra 300. You owe me extra this and that. And also on top of that, I'm not going to tell you why. Can somebody please tell me, where is the respect in their relationship? Because I don't see it. I'm looking for it, but I don't see it. Still don't see it. Nonetheless, though, as far as I'm concerned, it is quite clear that if your partner cannot tell you why they need money from you, if you ask me personally, that's borderline deal breaker. But hey, at the same time, Ashley is the one that avoided these conversations beforehand, even though she knew that transparency wasn't one of his best friends, even though she knew that getting answers out of him was always going to be a very challenging thing. Ashley should have really thought long and hard before marrying him, but she didn't. She married him anyway, and she ignored everything that her mother told her, even what her friends told her, simply because Ashley's a clown. Gee, I said it. Now, nonetheless, though, stay tuned because I'll be back again with another video because I got to do one on Michael and Angela. I decided to do that one separately because you see why. Nonetheless, though, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, peace.